I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Julpy and Ghosty.
Flag of the Beasts. Emmure. Never heard of them before.
For my insanity.
My Insanity. Shout out to the big homie. My Insanity shows the $75 partner tier, which has now increased to the $125 partner tier.
But have no fear if you've been there for 3 times.
That's My Insanity. He's been there for sure.
My Insanity's complete.
So my Insanity, you are grandfathered in at the $75 rate, so never you worry, my friend. Okay. Somebody misspelled February. Or maybe he's not from America.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
There are other languages aside from English. Okay.
Or you just insulted the person.
There's multiple ways to get your song reviewed. There's the $125 partner tier, but there's also my favorite, which is a $1 tier. And that gets you in the gate with on Patreon. You get alliances, and an alliance leader gets you.
Discord.
Get all that. I forgot about the Discord thing. Yeah, big community thing, underground. Facebook.com/Vin and Sori. That gets you into the village. It's free of charge. You go in there, you say all this type of stuff. We post pictures every day, yada, yada, yada. Then you get into the clan gang. You got to make that clan gang shirt. I love that shirt, the black with the gold. Whoo, clan gang.
Oh, yeah, that's
We just have to settle our dispute with Teespring, and then we can move on, inshallah. Okay. For time and topical political commentary, to find out why Vin is simultaneously the most compelling and
lovable,
most frustrating. No, I'm not lovable, according to Peter. According to Sarcast, I'm very difficult to love.
Oh.
And what makes Vincent the most frustrating individual on the internet? You've got to go over to Middle America with Vin and Sori. All right. So let's do this. Flag of the Beast. Emmure. I'm assuming this is going to be about the Antichrist. Or it could be about the guy's favorite puppy. Who knows? Let's go.
And go.
The fans who feel cheated, and venues I damage. The people who left me and ones who I banished. Fuck it, I'm done, I've got one thing to say. And if it makes you feel bad,
It's not you, we jealous motherfucker.
your fucking savior.
I could say about this song.
Oh my word.
So many things I could
Oh
say.
my goodness.
What?
This is really good. I'm telling you, when it hit, first of all, I just want to say it's a quarter after midnight here, and we live in an apartment. So poor neighbors are right on the other side of that wall. But I couldn't help it when he got to the part. Hey, me if it makes you feel better. It was just too much. I couldn't take it anymore.
What do you mean?
Just that, like, you know, that feeling of like where you're like. There was just certain people that I always felt like I was like trying to make this relationship work with, but they really just at the end of the day didn't want to like me. And so like just it was a very good feeling to hear him say that.
Yeah. Well, you know, there was going through certain situations and you were all surprised. I'm like, babe, these people,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
hated you for quite some time.
I was like, yeah, but I opened my home to them.
I don't mean shit, man. These are very, very yeah. Just very, you know, I just think it's human nature to you know, make saviors out of people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there's people that want to occupy the savior role. Like there used to be people that like wanted to be me, and I tell them like, you don't want to be me, my guy. Mm-hmm. And they'd say, easy for you to say, you know, like they don't understand. But the dichotomy of the whole thing is like, I'm your savior, I'm your antichrist. And what people don't realize, especially, and I you know, he talks about like the comments and things like that. Mm-hmm. Like
the fans who feel cheated in venues I've damaged.
I think I heard it from Maya Angelou, or Maya Angelou says, I don't take anything anybody says about me, positive or negative. I don't. It falls in the same category. She said, if you listen to all the positive, if you ingest and internalize all the positive thing that strangers say about you, then you have to ingest all the negative things strangers say about you. So what happens is like, people really believe.
That's correct.
People really believe that people who don't know them love them. Mm-hmm. Like they really, really believe that. And they really believe that, you know, people, oh, you're this, you're that, da 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 da, and then they really internalize it and think that it's real. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that those people are lying. In the moment, they believe they're telling the truth.
That's what I was gonna say.
They just don't have the self-awareness to understand human nature. The minute you say something or do something they don't like or whatever, they'll flip on you. And it's not because they're bad people. It's just human nature. Mm-hmm. You know, so like, you know, so like the ultimate example obviously is Jesus of this, and like he's the ultimate example of people hailing him as the savior and then, you know, crucifying him as the antichrist. And so here's my point. It's not about comparing yourself to Jesus. It's just to say, if the greatest human being on the earth had people flip on him, and you know that you're not the greatest human being on the earth, then why do you think these people are going to stay loyal to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and that makes a whole lot of sense. I think I always felt like the reason people flipped on Jesus was because there was crucifixion involved, and so.
Well, there's human nature involved, and at the end of the day, the ego is a hell of a thing, and a lot of people, especially in religious contexts, can't seem to dichotomize between actual spirituality and your ego. Mm-hmm. They don't understand that there's a difference. Yeah. So like when you pull back and like observe people, you know, and you can kind of figure out the matrix. You go, oh yeah. You can kind of predict what people are going to do, and then when you can do that, then
you're not so surprised.
I'm never surprised. I mean, you know. But you can predict certain outcomes and end up in a better circumstance.
I haven't mastered it yet because I don't feel like that you walk into a situation and you've been so embittered by your past that you're like, I just expect all of you people to let me down. Like, you don't have that type of mentality about it. And I don't know how to get to the place where it's not surprising I mean, is it hurtful when people try to crucify you, or are you just used to it, or what?
I just, some of this probably has to do with the fact that I moved around so much, and so like you would plug into relationships and then plug out, and then you just had to know you're gonna leave. Mm-hmm. And so I never did the whole, well, then I'm not gonna be friends with anybody thing. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna be friends. We're gonna enjoy the friendship from when it's there, and when it's done, because I'm gone. Mm-hmm. And like, so that's kind of my perspective on it. It's not like, oh, I expect this like I don't like have it in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I expect this person to do X, Y, or Z thing.
Yeah.
I just know that a human heart can only handle probably about 3 or 4 people that are like in the circle for your whole life, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you're there, you know, my brother, you know, that type of thing. And then there are other people that are on the periphery, and you just have to understand that they're on the periphery. So it's like, when you're with them, have fun with them. Yeah, it's like the ultimate example to me is Shaq and Kobe Bryant, right? Like, so Shaq and Kobe, like you take one snapshot, they're hugging each other, they're winning titles, and then another you know shot, they wanted to kill each other. You know, Kobe accused Shaq. You know, Kobe was doing the whole. He had a sexual assault thing, and he was like, why don't you guys look at Shaq? He's got some stories, and Shaq's like, yo, bro, what?
Why would you? Yeah.
But at the same time, you can see, and you know, they're hugging each other. And a lot of people mistake the camaraderie that you have when you're doing something for a common cause and a common goal.
Yeah.
And they see the hugging and all the thing that goes along in that moment as like, oh, we're together for... No, it just... You guys had
that moment was genuine. And
the moment was genuine. And then, you know, Kobe chased Shaq out of L.A. and they didn't talk for years. And then Shaq was like, you know, and then Kobe dies, and obviously it was a terrible situation.
Yeah.
You know, if some of y'all died, it'd be terrible. I don't want to ever see you again, but it would be terrible. But the thing is like, you just... to me, it's like...
And he's not talking about people that are in our village.
No, not any villagers, although we do have some stalkers, I know that. This is unhealthy. You should get a life. But like, that's the way I look at it. It's like, yeah, you know, you're in people's life, you do stuff, and you know, you're in a partnership, and you got the communitas going, and then it becomes clear when the thing is reached the end of its life cycle. And I'm not a fan of dragging around like dead bodies. Like, you know, the thing is over, it's done.
Yeah.
And you just move on, and you go on to the next thing, and they're gonna do bigger and better things, and you know, that's it. And you know, people say all types of craziness, but it happens in the workplace. Like, you know, like I had a particular guy, you know, you knew him. He was the big boss, and yada yada yada, and everybody was like, you know, oh, you know, he was like the Pope or whatever. The minute he left, they were all doing all this. The 2 weeks before, they were like, oh yeah, absolutely, da 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 da. And then as soon as he left, they were all, it's just human nature. That's human beings. Like, so he's like, I genuinely love the guy. We've been through hell and back together. So, you know, I didn't take part in any of it, but I wasn't surprised by any of it either. That's just human beings, man. The minute you're out of the building, that's it. Especially if you, and he's kind of like me. All of us kind of have the same mentality. It's so funny. But he's kind of like me. Like, he could have said a whole bunch of stuff. He could have done a bunch of stuff. He could have aired people out. He could have said that. He had saved emails, and he didn't say a word, man. He just bounced because he's like, yo, I'm done. Boom. If you want to come over, come over. Yeah. And he knew what people were going to do and all the rest of it because he still has contacts over there. He could literally end careers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, but he, you know, he's like, for what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm done. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think you just have to get to that point where, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's, like I said, because I moved around a lot. And it's also because there was other work that I was doing where there was a lot more at stake.
Yep.
And then the guy I was just talking about, he was also doing things where there were a lot more things at stake.
Well, yeah.
So if somebody says something reckless about you on Facebook, like,
it's
you know, there was one guy, like, he was texting me, and he said something about you, and I said, okay, look, just keep that shit on social. Don't ever let me see you like in the real world, and ever say something like that about her ever in your life. And that was the only, and he never spoke to me again. And I saw him in Walmart one time, and he went the other way.
Really?
Yeah. So like I don't keep it on social, whatever. But but yeah, if I honestly believe it's because I moved around so much, and so like I was able to plug in and plug out a human relationship so quickly.
Yeah, I mean that might be part of.
And then people interpret that as that I never liked them or something. Like that's not true. Like I liked you when we were together.
Yeah.
When we were doing stuff and all that, and I was hugging, like that was all real. And now it's over. I'm gone.
Yeah, I think that the other thing too is when people like cling on to you really fast, it's easier to. For instance, like, there are certain people in my past or, when I was in college, and they were like the type of person that, according to them, they would have said that we were really good friends, but they were like a life sucker. You know what I mean? Like
100% true.
It wasn't about being friends with me. It was about what I could give them and how I could help them, and
100% true.
Not necessarily like materially. I mean, there was a little bit of that, but more it was just, from my being, what could they, you know what I mean? And so those relationships are just simply exhausting. And so it's easier to just be like, okay, we're not in this situation anymore. Good day.
Right.
And
right. Which is
and I think that happens to you a lot.
100%. But, like my man Dirk was like, hey man, you put yourself in those situations. Like Dirk messaged me one time. He's like, you put yourself in and he's right.
Well,
he's right.
Yes and no. I mean, yes and no. Like, there are some situations that, but honey, the minute you open your mouth and people start hearing you, you're in that situation.
No. Like, for example, I'll show you a message later. This is somebody from the other group that we were in, and I was very, very selective about who I continue to talk about. 90% of them, I'm like, well, no way, I'm free. But there was one person I kept talking to, and like, then after a while, every single time it was complaining about this kid, you know what I'm talking about. And finally she was like, you asshole, blah, 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 blah. And I said, look man, scroll up and see the last 15 messages. Everything is an ask. Mm-hmm. Everything. Mm-hmm. Like, there are other people in your little thingamajig. Like, why are you coming to me? Mm-hmm. Like, and she was like, I didn't ask you for anything. I'm like, scroll up. Like, what are you talking about? And that's where, like, the Dirk comment kind of like, I was like, no, like, you got to grow from that. Like, I don't want to talk to you. Here's why. Whereas before, I just wouldn't talk to her. Yeah. I just block her or whatever.
No, I think that's different.
This time I was like, nope, because you got to grow, right? You got to grow. So you got to say, the reason I'm not talking to you is look above and like,
yeah.
There you go. You're sucking the life out of me. But this is a whole savior thing.
Yeah, I thought that was...
It was a whole savior thing. So, like, when, they wanted help with their kid, I was a savior, and then I wouldn't respond. I became the antichrist.
Or the asshole.
And you can't internalize that because that shows where they are. Mm-hmm. And that, she's in a lost situation. She doesn't know what to do, and all she knows is to lean on me as a crutch and whatever. So, like, that doesn't make her a bad person. That's the thing that people, like, that's in this song. It's like you would assume that all these people are bad. They're not bad people. Just like you're not a particularly bad person for your particular flaws. It's just, you just have to navigate and understand what's going on. You know what I mean? And in that person's situation, I made a mistake because she should have been on the list of people I would never spoke to again. Not because I was mad at her. It's just because the relationship was so completely one-sided. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, you just... And the other thing is that you have been the Antichrist. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have... The thing is that when you're in Savior mode, people overlook all your Antichrist stuff. Because there's some benefit to them. But when the benefit's away, then they go, wait a second, you were a bad mother the whole time. And like, I've always been the type of...
He's dangerous!
Right?
Are you gonna come and take care of my people?
Right. I've always been the type of guy that says, "Hey, I'm not perfect." Blah blah blah. You've heard that a million times. Yeah. Self-criticize. Blah blah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because their view of you was like here. So they go, "You're prideful, arrogant." Da 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 da. Meanwhile, it's like Yeah, I'm the one that's talking about my flaws more than. And you remember the times we'd have those little things and nobody would say anything, and I'd say, "Okay, this is how I screwed up this week." Yada 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 yada. But then it turns out, oh, you're a pro. You know what I mean? Like, so you just have to understand. You
Part
can't.
of that was because a lot of your issues revolve around your relationship toward violence, and I think that
not all the time. I mean, I was pretty open about certain marriage issues and things like that. I
Yeah.
would say certain people in my family and everybody knew.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it wasn't always that, but
Yeah.
you know, I just think that, you know, it doesn't have to be either or. It doesn't have to be like you're the complete victim and they're the bad guy or vice versa. It just has to do with everybody's at different stages of growth.
Yeah.
And everybody, like if somebody's putting the critics in the comments, the press in the nonsense, the fans who feel cheated, like when a fan feels cheated and they throw out some cheap thing like you're a sellout and blah blah blah, like it's really like we don't have fans, but like we've got a you know a channel and it's got some reach, and so people will say things like, and they really don't see you as an actual human being. And there's things that people say that they would not say if they were around you. I know that for a fact, and it has nothing to do with being intimidated or whatever. It's just human nature and the dynamics of being with an actual flesh and blood person.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just have to understand that's just the human nature. You got to get a good grasp of human nature, because then you can look at people with more understanding.
It's one of those things like when you're looking at his situation and he's talking about, you know, I'm assuming it has a lot to do with his profession and what he does musically and stuff like that. And when he says, go down to the part like feeling the fans who feel cheated and the venues I've damaged. Well, when he's talking about the fans that feel cheated, then on the flip side of it, I'm sure that he has family that feels like you should have been with us more, blah blah blah.
Right.
And so on both sides, he's getting the same.
Right.
You know, like we don't necessarily have fans, but we have, you know, people that are asking for this reaction, that thing, this and that. You know, and then we have our kids saying, "Oh, when are you going to spend more time with us?" And so like you kind of feel like you're in between.
And then there's us.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of like angles and areas and stuff like that kind of. And we're small comparatively speaking, I'm sure with this guy. This song was incredible to me. I loved how heavy it was. I loved what he did vocally, how he kept switching it up, and then he would go like that really like sound that I thought was going to be easy to do, but then I tried it in the car and it really wasn't.
Frankie Palmieri is his name.
Yeah, he did really good. So scroll up. He says, go to the top. Okay, what more could I possibly say? I've gone above and beyond of what you thought I'd be. There's no surprise to me. You just can't relate. The depths I've fallen, you would never have been able to take. So when he's saying this, do you notice he steps into a church? Do you think it's because he's going with the Savior or Antichrist?
I just think he was around religious people.
Or you think it's that?
I'm sure they pronounce some harem on the guy somehow.
Yeah.
As they always do.
Yeah, you just can't relate.
Yeah, you know, and some call it fake karma, you know. Why am I the one who has to suffer and be crucified? You think you can handle the nightmare of being alive when no one cares, but if you think you can, step up to the plate.
Yeah, that part was sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard, man. That's hard. People go, although, you know, I had some hard times in my life. I've never been in that situation where like I legitimately thought no one cared.
Yeah.
But that's because I've never had a conscious moment in my life when I didn't believe that God was beside me. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, even when I was pre-verbal.
Yep.
Well, not necessarily, because I've had the dark night of the soul where you feel abandoned by God, but there was never a time when I where I was actually convinced that I was. Say it that way.
Yeah. No, I totally understand.
So I actually, when he asked that question, I don't know what that's like. And that's one of the reasons why...
We call it a nightmare. Ugh.
That's one of the reasons why I have you kind of give people a certain type of rope as far as like not judging people for flipping on you, because there are people that don't have that type of relationship with God, and you were their only lifeline, and then you left all of a sudden, and it triggers their abandonment issues or whatever, and then they lash out and say things, and I don't know what it's like to be them. I've never been in this situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in situations where externally people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. How did you survive? But internally, I've always had the presence of God somewhere, even before I was even verbal. So if I didn't have that and I was in that situation, how would you react? You don't know. So over time, there was this one meme that says, you know, maturity is understanding, you know, why you did the things that you did back in the day, and wisdom is understanding why other people or trying to understand why other people do what
So the first one is what?
Like, understanding why you did what you did in your past is maturity, and wisdom is trying to understand other people instead of just these.
Yeah.
See, like, you know, I had a very good conversation with Kellen Dross about, you know, the whole original sin thing. Like, the original sin to me is not about you're horrible, da 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 da. It's just about why did you? Because that's already a given. It gets that out of the way to say, well, yeah, they did something bad or wrong or whatever, but you would too in the same situation without grace. So now we can get judging people out of the way, right? And now we can try to understand people.
Yeah, and it also helps you to be able to figure out where to go forward from there. So, like, if somebody. Right. Like, let's say somebody was adopted, they don't know their parents or their medical history, and they're predisposed to alcoholism, but they didn't know it because they didn't know their history. But then they suddenly find out about their history, and they're like, oh, okay, that's why I'm the way that I am. And it kind of brings some peace to the situation, and you can start moving forward because you have an understanding of where that came from. Right. So it's like that.
Yeah, and that was like a big, you know, revelation to me from God. It was more like, it just became more about just understanding people and understanding where they're at. And there are people that I am sure are convinced that I'm like their sworn enemy or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Yeah.
To me, I spent a lot of time looking back and oh, I understand that. You know, and there's other things I don't understand, but to me, there's an explanation where I could say, okay, I'm sure there's a reason that something happened somewhere to where they reacted that way. Just like there's reasons, things that happened to me where I reacted that way. Like, you know, like moving around a lot, losing very, very important people who were close and formative to me by suicide and not having any closure. You know, not being able to see them for the last time or whatever, and like they're gone, period. And losing two very, very instrumental people in my life that way. All of those things factor into why I am the way that I am and why I choose the sins that I choose, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not really about judging myself because I feel forgiven because of, you know, Jesus died for me. But it's more about like coming to a closer reconciliation to myself and understanding myself. So then when you look at other people, like I said, you can just get the whole, they're bad. You can get that out of the way because like everybody's bad. Great. What did you learn? Okay, he's bad. Great. What prize? What prize do you earn? You know, and at the end of the day, life is really ultimately about like to know and the desire to be known, whether it's God or whether it's other people. It's about wanting to be known and wanting to know other people. And so like if that's your mindset, then even the people who are judging this guy here, you can get to the point where you go, okay, I understand why you use your religion to go after me and not try to understand me. And the reason I can understand that is because I wrote an entire song about you not really trying to understand why you were not understanding me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you eventually get to that point. And you know, I'm sure, like, I don't know when he wrote this song, 2017, about 2.5 years ago. You know, maybe now looking back, you know, like things are different. Like I saw an interview with Eminem, and you know, like, you know, he had this like well publicized beef with his mom, but like it evolved, you know, and like he said stuff in his, and you know, same thing about Jay-Z, same thing with Corey. Corey wrote songs about his dad, and then he met his dad, and then like they were able to, you know, reconcile or whatever. So you grow as a person, and I think that's a beautiful thing, and so that's where I'm at. So if you're one of those weird stocky people, man, lady, go live your life, man. Just live your life. If I'm as bad as you think I am, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala judge me and he'll,
Click that unsubscribe.
they'll raise you up to the 7th heaven for dose inshallah. What do you give the song?
I'm passing out 10s, man, all over the place.
I know,
It was a 10
big
for
sauce.
me, though. It was a 10 for me. I really, really liked it. This one I'm playing again, obviously.
Obviously.
After the pot. I'll play the pot, then I'll play this.
Yeah. Yeah. My least favorite Tool song.
I know, but I liked it.
Yeah, this was, how long was this song? Was it like 3
It was
minutes
short. It
long?
was like 4 minutes.
See, I like those 3 minutes, 3.3 minutes. I like those songs where it's like and then out. I like those songs. It was at the perfect time. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9.743.
Okay.
Not gonna pass out no 10s, huh?
Oh, I am.
If we do an interview with you, I'll do a recast and give you a 10. Tell the truth.
Oh, you should give us an interview.
You should give us an interview. Okay, there we are. Been out.
Sorry, out.
Gone.
Got one thing to say. Even if it makes you feel bad.